Yes, we are in April, and I have to tell you, I don't know what's going to happen on April Fools, but my son has been plotting for a solid 3 months now. So I'll report back, but I think he has a fun little prank that he and his dad are planning on me. We will see, we will see. But April means a lot more fun things happening. April is when more people are getting out and photographing the Milky Way. Many of us are digging out from snow finally. You can ask Jazz. She has been swimming happily. Her favorite time of the year is when the ice is finally gone and she can swim as much as she wants. So lots of fun stuff going on. Really, really exciting is that I am going to be running my Your First Milky Way Photo training of the year. This is like my flagship free training that I do. I have now brought tens of thousands of photographers through it. That is like, little like mind-blowing emoji. It still is very difficult for me to believe and just amazing. And this year is going to be so good. I can't even. So in last year, just quick before we dive into the Cosmic Chronicles for today, and we're going to talk about everything that we can photograph in the night sky this month. I want to talk about this quick because it's really exciting. I want to make sure you don't miss it. So last year in September, I did something brand new. And I said, I wish that I could bring all of these people here live and in person and we could shoot together. And wouldn't it just be amazing, But the reality of it is hundreds and hundreds of people all in one place shooting together is not going to work out so well. And so instead, what I decided is that I would try to do a live streamed photo shoot underneath the Milky Way. And logistically, this was just like insane. And it worked out. It was so cool. I had over 500 people tune in live with me, and many more came on the replay. And they got to see me photographing the Milky Way and ask me their questions and see the mistakes I made. And the coolest thing for me was that the training, your first Milky Way photo training, so I'm not very creative maybe with my naming, but it's very much that's what you do. If you've never photographed the Milky Way before, you can come into this training and you can take your first photo of the Milky Way. It gives you all of the information that you need to get started, but then there's the application of that information, and this live shoot is like the next step to it. So I knew without a doubt I was going to do it again this year when I started. But here's the thing. Here in Nova Scotia in April at night, it's very cold. Also, it's very cloudy. We have a lot of clouds. We thought it was hard to get a clear night in September. Try doing that in April. So instead of doing it here, I am getting on a jet plane, going across to the other coast, finding some desert, and I'm going to do a live shoot actually just outside of Joshua Tree National Park. And I am psyched to do it. My brother is flying down, so he'll be there with me. Anyone who's been on my trainings, he comes in behind the scenes on the trainings with me all the time and helping. So he's going to come. He's in Vancouver, so I'm actually flying to Vancouver first before I fly down to Joshua Tree. So he's going to come with me. I've got alumni who are going to be there with me during the actual shoot, and we're going to go and do some fun stuff during the week as well, just to hang out, because it's cool to get to hang out with some of my SoCal fam on the other side. So it's going to be really, really cool. Now, if you want to be able to take part in it, you have to sign up. So it's completely free, but all of this is going to be happening inside of this pop-up Facebook group. The only way you get into that group is if you sign up. So I will leave a link in the show notes for this episode in the description down below in the YouTube if you're watching it. It's christinerosephotography.com/your first Milky Way photo. And if you have gone on this training with me before, you've been on it before with me, I've done it many, many times at this point, I'm happy to have you come back. I love having alumni in the training. I love getting started with everyone and just having that beautiful and wonderful energy that comes when we bring a group of people together who are really excited about the night sky. So that's what I have going on this month. Super, super psyched. Everything gets started on April 11th and then runs from there for the next 2 weeks. It's going to be really, really cool. Now, if you are like, okay, I want to photograph the Milky Way. Well, my training starts on April 11th. Why does it start then? Because we can start photographing the Milky Way on April 13th. I am very, very particular in the way that I schedule things. I do it so that when I'm running this free training, people can actually take, like, here's the stuff I'm teaching. And you're like, oh, I have a clear night. You can actually go out and put it into practice. And we get to see hundreds, if not thousands, of photos from students who have never photographed the Milky Way before. It's so awesome. So April 13th to 26th this month is going to be our new moon period, our period of time when we do not have the moon up in the sky while the Milky Way is up in the sky. And for most of us, the Milky Way is up for most of the night. So it starts rising somewhere around the midnight time, a little bit later, depending on where you're at. And then it's up in the sky until we get to dawn. So we've got Milky Way for most of the night. Once we get into May, we have Milky Way for the entirety of the night. But April is starting to be pretty good. We've got a fair amount of Milky Way time. So let's pull some all-nighters, shall we? Okay, so let's come in. I'm going to take us back to the start of my images here. And there we go. And let's talk about what we have this month. What are we going to be seeing in the night sky this month? So first up is the full moon. So we are starting, the start of the month is a pretty high moonlight, bright time of the night. First starting out, April 6th is the full moon. So we're getting in at the start of the month into the time where you can take some full moon shots if you want. Where you can get some of those really beautiful long focal length images of the moon, or you can be like me and you can hang out on your couch with your dog and go to sleep early. As we move along through the month, there's going to be some things coming up, a lot of conjunctions with the moon. The first one is on April 10th, and the image that you're seeing here, or if you're listening on the podcast, the image that you can go see in the show notes, it is not indicative of what you will capture. So it's still quite a full moon. You can see that there. The screenshots in Planet Pro show you Rho Ophiuchi in behind it. Yes, that will be there. No, you won't capture the level of detail that you see there. This is more so an event where we have the moon plus Antares. And so this is happening on really April 10th, but that's the evening of April 9th. So April 9th going into like the morning of April 10th. I have it here as it's rising up. So here, this is in Nova Scotia, around Peggy's Cove. It's rising up at about 12:30 in the morning, and you can get the moon and Antares together. Antares is really lovely because Antares means Ant Eres, not Mars. It is a very bright star. It is the one where it's like, I can always pick out Antares. And I'm like, oh, I know the Milky Way is just right over here. So I really quite love Antares. So having the moon and Antares together, I think, is just a really lovely composition that we can have. Next up, we have the Saturn and Moon conjunction. So some planets with the moon, as always this month. We've got Saturn plus the moon, a really nice crescent. This is happening on April 16th. So I have them setting down. You will notice that as they are setting and as they are getting close to the horizon here, we are getting into astronomical twilight. So it is starting to be a wee bit bright. That's not the end of the world necessarily, but yeah, it is going to be quite bright. Actually, I'm looking at this. What's the azimuth? The azimuth is 113. So this is not setting. This is rising. I apologize. So this is Saturn actually rising up. That's why in my head I was like, why would I do that? That's because this is Saturn and the moon are rising on April 16th in the morning. So depending on your latitude where you're at, this might look a little bit different because you'll have different timings, different amount of night, etc. But here where we are, we're going to get, if you want to shoot this and you're close to me or close to my latitude, you're going to have Saturn and the moon, and they're going to be in the morning twilight, as it were. Next up is going to be Neptune and the moon. And so Neptune and the moon here rising as well, even brighter. And that's going to be hard because Saturn is a lot brighter than Neptune is for our view here. But for the moon and Neptune coming together, it's going to be, this is the morning of April 17th, but it's quite a bit more into the bright morning sun that's coming up. The sun hasn't risen yet at this point. You'll be able to see in the screenshot of Planet Pro, the sun hasn't risen yet, but we are out of astronomical twilight, and we are into the other twilights. I don't know if this is civil, which it is, but it's going to be a lot brighter in the sky. So Neptune might be hard to show up in the sky. It might be okay, but it might be hard. If you're out and you're around and you're up early, absolutely look to the east in the morning of the 17th for the moon and Neptune together. But this one might be a little bit more difficult. Then next up, after that, we're going to be looking at April 20th. Again, this one is going to be a little bit hard to photograph as well. So here we have the moon and Mercury together on April 20th. They are setting, so you'll be looking to the west, but you can see as well, this is during twilight. So they're going to be a little bit more difficult to photograph as well. So all three of these so far that we've looked at, they are going to be, a little bit more difficult to photograph because it's just not going to be happening during full dark. So, Saturn and the moon is going to be the darkest out of all of them. That happens on April 16th. On April 17th, we have Neptune and the moon. And then on April 20th, we have Mercury and the moon. With all of these, I have them in the screenshots at a focal length of 150 millimeters. That looks pretty good. It gets close, but being able to still have some landscape and have both of the objects within your frame. It definitely could make for interesting images because you're going to have a much brighter landscape with you. But just keep in mind that the planets will be dimmer than what you're used to seeing out of conjunction images. Also with the moon and Mercury, you can get it on the 21st as well. It's a little bit darker on the 21st, and they are a little bit farther away on the 21st. So it's a bit of a compromise. You're not going to see the two of them as close together, but especially if you look at my screenshots, you'll see that it is certainly a fair bit darker when you can see the two of them together. So that will definitely impact the images that you can create. Then we have, actually, this is not the one I want to show you yet. So I'm showing you the moon and Pleiades on April 21st, but we should first talk about the solar eclipse that's happening. Now, I am going to direct people to go to timeanddate.com/eclipse/solar/2023-April-20, or you can just go, there will be a link in the description and a link in the show notes. This is a hybrid solar eclipse. Now, this is not for anyone in North America. So this is really going to be like Australia, Indonesia, the southern Indian Ocean, and the western Pacific Ocean. That's where you're going to be able to see this. So on this timeanddate.com website, you can see the path. Now, this is a hybrid because part of the path will have a complete solar eclipse. So, they'll be able to see all of it, but then part of it is not going to see all of it. So part of the path will be experiencing basically an image where the moon is not completely blocking out all of the sun. So you'll have kind of like a crescent of the sun left. So it's a little bit different. The last time there's been a hybrid eclipse like this was November 3rd in 2013. And it's not going to happen again until November 14th, 2031. So these are images, especially if you're somewhere near or around that area, pretty unique images to be able to capture. A little bit different. I won't be anywhere near the places to capture this, but if you are, definitely take a look at this, because you could get some pretty cool images for sure. Okay, for those of us who are not going to be enjoying a hybrid solar eclipse, let's take a look at what else we have. So, of course, that's on April 20th. So remember, of course, that's also when new moon is. So if we're having a hybrid eclipse or solar eclipse, that's also going to be happening during new moon. So then we move on to what us mere mortals can see, can experience. And we have a few more conjunctions. I'm really excited for this one. So this is on April 21st. This is Friday evening and basically rising up. And it is a conjunction between the Pleiades, so M45, and the moon. I really love the Pleiades. They're really beautiful. They're really lovely. And any conjunctions with the Pleiades they're just wonderful. I really enjoy them. The other benefit here is that the moon is quite small. Or I should say that the moon is coming off of new moon. So it's a very slim crescent. It will be throwing light off, absolutely, but it won't be throwing off nearly as much light as, say, the Antares conjunction much earlier in the month, in April, where the moon is quite large. So it will be one of those things where it's a little bit easier to balance out that dynamic range within one image. So I have this here on April 21st. Right after it becomes full dark, you're going to see them rising up. And focal length that I have for this is 150 millimeters. Then we have Venus and the moon. Now, I have two images for Venus and the moon, the 22nd and the 23rd. And if you look at them, it kind of looks like Venus and the moon switch positions. These are both at 150 millimeters. It still gives you room to have some breathing space around both the objects, and then also a little bit of landscape. And you're going to see they're around 11:30 at night. And they are setting down. And the thing that I love, well, Venus is setting. The moon is rising up, but Venus is setting. The thing that I particularly love about these images here is Venus is, it's like the evening star. And so Venus is always this really beautiful and bright star in the night sky, and then you pair that with this really slim little crescent moon together. It's lovely. The other thing is that we have two nights. So a lot of these conjunctions, one night it's really good, and then the next night it's the moon is really far away. Now it's just it doesn't line up that well. It doesn't work that well. But here, when we look at April 22nd versus April 23rd, it's almost like the moon and Venus have just switched spots together. So we're able to get a pretty lovely composition on either night. So that just doubles our chances of being able to go out and shoot and get a nice image. And I have these here, I don't know if I mentioned it, at 150 millimeters. So, using that 70 to 200 millimeter lens absolutely will work wonders here. I didn't put that one in the right position. I did have for the moon and Pleiades, you could also shoot that on April 22nd as well. You'll just see in the images that they're farther apart on April 22nd. So on April 21st, the moon and the Pleiades are closer together, but the 22nd, they're a bit farther apart. You can still do it, but they are going to be a little bit farther apart. So then we've got two more things this month, and the second to last is the Lyrids. So this is the Lyrids meteor shower. This is going to peak on the night of April 22nd going into the 23rd. It's not like a shower that I'm going to drive multiple hours to go find clear skies for. I'll do that for the Perseids in the summer, or the Geminids in the winter. because those are both showers that have like lots and lots of meteors. The Lyrids is a meteor shower, absolutely. And will you get to see meteors while you're out? Yes, but it's not as prolific as the others. So it generally is going to do like 10 to 20 meteors per hour. That's going to be in somewhere that's quite dark, so that you can see them. The peak of the meteor shower for the Lyrids generally is happening pre-dawn hours. So this is when I wouldn't recommend staying up late for it. I'd recommend getting up early for it. In general, with meteor showers, just the way that the Earth interacts with the stream of cosmic dust that is producing the meteor shower, in general, it's better after midnight, just because of the way that we're rotating into it. Think of it like before midnight, it's like the meteors are raindrops hitting the back windshield of your car. And after midnight, it's like the meteors are hitting the front windshield of your car, if it were raindrops, not meteors. We just see that much more of them. So in general, always after midnight is going to be better. But here, this particular shower that we have, it is better kind of in the morning hours, so before it gets bright out. Now for here, our morning, when we're getting out of full night into astronomical twilight, that's happening around 4 a.m. I think maybe quarter after 4 by this time of the month. So you could theoretically get up early and be able to go out and see them. So I'm going to show you, I'll show you these two. The first two images are just showing where the Lyrids are. So in the screenshot, you see that there is a little star, and then it has these little trails coming off of it. This is the meteor shower symbol. So you can see where it is to the southeast, and then by morning, just before we get out of full night, it's basically due south. So you'll be looking, if you're going mid shower to when the shower ends, basically, you're going to be looking in the southeast to south. If you're just kind of going before you get up in the morning, that type of thing, then you'll be looking just more so towards the south for it. In terms of that, if I look here, I took a few screenshots in the virtual reality just because I wanted to kind of show you the difference between a focal length that you could use where you're pointing towards the radiant and keeping that radiant in frame, and having maybe a little bit of the ground underneath. So the first image that I'm showing is at 1 a.m. And here this would be, we're pointing towards the southeast, and we can see at a 24 millimeter, you can get the radiant and you can get a little bit of the ground as well. And then as we go later, the radiant's getting higher up in the sky. So now I'm actually at a 14 millimeter. So shooting at a 14 millimeter focal length to get the radiant and having the ground at the same time. So as we go later in the night, earlier into the morning, we are going to be seeing that radiant rise up higher and higher in the sky. So that's really important to note, just because, if you start shooting, like let's say you do go out at midnight or you go out before that, you're shooting with a longer focal length and then you're tracking the radiant throughout the sky. As you get to the morning, you're going to find that you don't have any ground anymore. You just have sky. So choose your focal length depending on how you want to shoot. I know many people, when we photograph the meteor shower, we take multiple images in a row so that we can stitch them all together and take the meteors from each of the images and stitch them into what is a semi-realistic version. So we just have to make sure, we plan ahead for that. The really nice thing is with this meteor shower is that we do have a really thin crescent moon, and it will be setting earlier in the evening. So, we're not going to be here and having big moonlight drowning out all of the meteors. We're going to, fortunately, be able to see most of the meteors as long as you're getting somewhere that is actually dark. dark. So you have to make sure to go somewhere where it's dark enough and you'll see it. So that's our Lyrid's meteor shower, second to last thing of the month. And then the last thing of the month is a conjunction between Mars and the moon. So we've got the red planet and the moon. We're going to see them here. So I have April 26th. You could do April 25th, so the evening of April 25th. I have them setting here in the morning of April 26th. So it just kind of depends what you would want to do. They are much closer together. So most of the other conjunctions from this month, I had a focal length of between 120 and 150 millimeters, but this is a 300 millimeter. You could even go longer than that if you wanted to get these together. So this is a much closer conjunction, which can be quite nice. I can imagine Mars and the moon setting over a lake, and you've got both of them reflecting on the water and the ripples and all of that. Like, it would just look really, really lovely. So that would be our last thing of the month that we have going on. That's a pretty good month, hey? This setup, lots of fun stuff happening in the sky. And I think I hope that's what comes across in these episodes. It's not like a to-do list, right? It's not like I should be out doing this, or this thing's happening. I need to be out here doing this, or I need to be, it's like, it's like a hybrid solar eclipse. Well, maybe I should go there. It's, the last one that happened was in 2013, and the next one that's going to happen is in 2031. Like, I should be there. I should be doing it. And it's like, I don't know. I'm not putting these episodes together to give anyone FOMO, right? I'm putting these together to show us that there's lots of stuff that's happening up in the night sky, and it can be fun to plan out things. It can be beneficial to plan, because if we don't know something's happening, then we are not prepared. And if you're not prepared, you're very likely not going to create anything. But on the same token, I never want anyone to feel like pressure, like, I need to be doing this. I should be doing this. I should be going out and doing all of this. Whenever we start to say should, then generally what comes after that is something that's not going to make us feel that great. So I always, when I'm using these could, should, would, those words for myself in my head, it's always kind of like a little bit of a red flag to be like, maybe I should think about what I'm saying to myself here. So hopefully, when we go through all of the different things that are available to do, and there's tons of stuff this month that we can get out there and shoot, that we are keeping in mind, like, what are the types of things that I think would just be fun to do? What are the places or experiences that I can have around creating these images that I would enjoy doing it? And know that there's stuff always happening, There are going to be some really rare things that happen that it's like, I'm going to make an extra effort for this thing. But on the same token, there's always cool stuff happening up in the night sky. As I go through each of these monthly ones and I plan it out and I'm showing the images of what we can shoot, the thing that I notice is that there's always stuff to do. There's always stuff out there that we can see, that we can look at, that we can photograph. So I hope that this gives you a little bit of inspiration, gives you some things that you feel like you can get out and shoot. And I look forward to seeing your images if you do, or to hearing your stories around going out, because sometimes we'll come home with stories and not photos, and that's okay too. That's all part of the process. So thank you for being here with me, for hanging out with me. I really hope to see you inside my free training. It is one of the highlights of my year. It's just so fun to put on, and the energy and the people and everything is really cool and really fun. So I'll see you there. Be there or be square. Be there or be clouds. No, I can't. I cannot guarantee cloudless skies for anyone who shows up. I'm sorry. I wish I could. I am working on my magic wand, but it is still just a pen. So anyways, we'll see. I will talk to you all soon. I will see you inside the free training. And if you take photos and you want to share, you have stories, share them inside our Facebook group. So we have a Facebook group for the podcast. I'd love to see you in there. We've got a lot of people in there sharing and shooting all of the fun things. So we'll see you there. I hope that you have just a fantastic April. Lots of the whatever it is that you need, you know? Maybe time to get out and shoot, maybe just some clear skies to actually see the stars, you know? Whatever it is that you need this April, I hope that you get it. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.